Rock County Sheriff's investigators are not sure an automatic weapon and 12 handguns ditched by the man who wrote a threatening manifesto will ever be found. Over the last 6 months, La Crosse authorities have been investigating several suspicious fires, possibly due to arson. Bob, Danielle, now when we first arrived on scene here, which is basically in the backyard of our station, all you could see was a lot of smoke coming from the top of the building. That eventually turned into some pretty large flames. Now we spoke with the owner of Encore tonight, who says it's just what you call a bad day. So still some possible snowman building coming up in the future.
Oh yeah, it's early February. There should be plenty of chances to do some snow manning.
Senator Tammy Baldwin took a step out on the farm this morning to talk with farmers about Wisconsin's dairy industry. We're actually going to meet one of the athletes here. We have Katie Gravitt. Katie, you have volunteered at this event before. Can you tell us a little bit about what your favorite part is?
Filling up the gas.
And folks are keeping track of time until kickoff, literally down to the minutes. Reporter John Kuchko joins us again now with more from Houston. Hi, John. It's a little windy out here, guys, but if you are interested in supporting the project, you can go to our website at weau.com for more information. It passed the House of Representatives by the narrowest of margins, and today the White House says it's one step closer to repealing and replacing Obamacare. Bob, Danielle, I'm here at North Star Middle School, which is where the group held their first meeting tonight. But SEPTA has really been an idea in the works for more than a year now.
We'll have to watch that.
Good time for umbrellas.
Have that umbrella for sure.
Perfect. Well, thanks, Drew. Well, still ahead in sports, highlights from La Crosse as the softball team looks to stay alive in the regionals. Plus, one local football product announced where he'll be playing after graduation. Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. Hundreds marched through Onalaska today to raise awareness for babies. The La Crosse area's March for Babies, benefiting March of Dimes, brought families together in support of the national organization. Fox 2548's Aaron O'Brien has more about the event and how it's helping babies in our area beat the odds.
Plenty of purple filled Roe Park in Onalaska today.
Fox 2548 was a sponsor of today's event. There will be another March for Babies fundraiser in Chippewa Falls next Saturday at Irvine Park. A Florida man is hospitalized and arrested after crashing a stolen semi in Dunn County. Investigators say 50-year-old Todd Fine was arrested for his fourth OWI and operating without owner's consent early this morning around 4:30 a.m. It happened on County Highway B near Menominee. According to State Patrol, they say they saw a semi sparking and tried to pull it over. That's when Fine accelerated to 90 miles per hour in a 45-mile-per-hour zone. Fine then lost control of the semi and it rolled. Troopers say he was hospitalized with minor injuries and was then taken to Dunn County Jail. President Donald Trump is marking his 100th day in office with an executive order that opens an investigation into possible trade agreement violations and abuses. Mr. Trump signed the order today in Hampton Township, Pennsylvania. The president was joined at a manufacturing facility by Secretary of Commerce Wilbur Ross. The executive order will allow for a systematic evaluation of World Trade Organization agreements. The president signed the order before his rally tonight after deciding to skip the White House Correspondents' Dinner. No president has ever missed the event in 36 years since President Reagan was not able to attend after he was shot in 1981. A senior White House official says the scheduling of the rally had nothing to do with the president avoiding the gathering of journalists. The White House staff is also boycotting the dinner in a show of solidarity with Mr. Trump. Loved ones, friends, family, and complete strangers gathered today all in support of one very special little girl. Today was the Taya Tough fundraiser at Mount Simon Park in Eau Claire. Money was raised today for 3-year-old Taya Madison, who was diagnosed at 11 weeks old with an inoperable brain tumor. The fundraiser had raffle items, food, t-shirts, and baseball. Taya's family say that it's hard to put into words what the community support means to them.
Believe how this community has pulled together to be Taya Tough, and that is Taya's slogan, and I am so grateful for everyone who has come out here, and everyone here has contributed in some way.
If you're interested in helping out Taya and her family, you can make donations at any Royal Credit Union and make a payment to Taya Tough Benefit. Today, hundreds laced up to walk for multiple sclerosis in Eau Claire. Co-workers, families, friends, and individuals walked to raise money for those suffering with the central nervous system disease. The walk kicked off at 10 this morning on UW Eau Claire's campus. Lori Bowman and her top fundraising team raised more than $2,900. Bowman's sister was diagnosed with the disease last October, and her team says they are walking in support of her.
And so for us to be able to walk and use our legs, that she can't use her legs right now, is really important.
According to the National MS Society, more than 2.3 million people are affected by MS worldwide. Still ahead, what chance of rain can we expect to close out the weekend? But first, we'll show you how these middle schoolers are exploring outside the classroom through robots. Hunters have been using lead ammunition for decades, so why change something that's already working?
When lead bullets impact an object, they shatter into hundreds and maybe even thousands of little particles and fragments, and that has the potential to expose either scavengers or people who are eating the meat to potential health risks.
WEAU's digital executive producer's husband, Caleb Brown, demonstrated for us using a bullet with a combination of copper and lead. Retired wildlife biologist Carl Batha, who is a supporter for copper, says you won't find any leftover chunks of lead in your meat because the pieces are microscopic.
This lead dust just scatters, and they found it as far as 14 inches from the wound channel.
But Environmental Health Director Shane Sanderson says the lead dust is something to worry about down the road.
Most people are not going to consume venison on a daily basis all year long that was shot with leaded bullets. With that said, I also don't want to downplay it because you can get still get a dangerous dose from the lead in a bullet if you're consuming meat in the area of the body where the lead bullet actually dispersed.
DNR wildlife biologist Bill Hogseth says lead is also a huge concern for animals.
Lead is one of the most toxic metals out there that we know of, and bald eagles are a good example of species that can be harmed by the use of lead ammunition.
Right now, state law requires hunters who hunt aquatic birds to use ammunition that is not lead, like copper or steel.
Okay. You can see how finely mushroomed.
During any other hunt, it's a hunter's choice.
Is it something you would personally use?
I guess I've used them for quite a few years, I guess. I don't know, just recently I switched over to a different brand though, so I don't use them anymore.
But unlike LaPorte, local gun shop manager Luke Weyers says his customers aren't interested.
I do not notice people buying copper bullets, period, okay? The lead just continues to sell.
Weyers says copper bullets tend to be a bit more expensive, but it's a price that Hogseth says is worth the penny.
Sometimes you don't shoot more than a few times in a season, and when you look at it that way, perhaps the cost of a copper bullet isn't that extraordinary.
Hogseth says there are multiple non-toxic options for hunters aside from lead. Those options include, of course, copper, but bismuth, tungsten, and steel shots like these.
You know, we've taken lead out of the gasoline, we've taken it out of paint, but we haven't taken it out of bullets.
In Eau Claire, Abigail Hantke, WEAU 13 News.
Originally, when we first got here, we could only see one life jacket on a gentleman, and he was trying to wave his arms around out there. But the swells, at first, we couldn't even see the life jacket on the second guy.
It started as a day of fishing on Lake Altoona, but high winds and choppy waters made for a different story for two men boating on the lake. Scott Thiede with the Wisconsin DNR says he was on his routine patrol at the lake when concern overwhelmed him as he watched the only boat in the water take a dive.
I saw one boat on the water, and given the rough conditions and the shallow draft of this bass boat, I was concerned, so I watched them, and yep, they turned into a position on the lake where the wind came up behind them and apparently filled their boat with water. The boat went down fast, they put on life jackets fast, and it's because of those life jackets they're alive.
Pamela Nelson was just walking along the beach with her family, attempting to fly kites in the strong wind when she heard the sirens pass by and saw two life jackets in the water.
And we got here, a fire truck passed us, or a truck passed us with its lights on, and then we noticed two orange life jackets out in the middle of the lake and no boat anywhere around, and they were quite a way out in the water.
Thiede says the grass may be green and the sun may be shining, but this water is still really cold. He says temperatures on Lake Altoona around 50 degrees, which could have been a real concern for hypothermia if the men had been out there any longer.
Thiede says the men were in the water for around 20 minutes.
And I was telling the grandkids we can't go swimming today because they thought we were going to go swimming. I says it's too cold, too much hypothermia could set in, and you could tell one of the guys was really hurting when they got him out of the water. He could hardly walk. And
So at least the boats got here quickly and got them out.
Thede says the men had recently bought their bass boat, and now with the boat underwater, they have 30 days, according to state law, to remove it from the lake. In Altoona, Abigail Hantke, WEAU 13 News.
She loved all flowers, but sunflowers were her favorite. They're pretty dear to my heart.
6 acres full, with more than 1 million sunflowers, share the memory of Babette Jaquish of Eau Claire, who lost a 9-year battle to cancer in 2014. In Sunday, that field of flowers welcomed community members as the field was turned into a maze that reads Seeds of Hope.
It was amazing.
It's stunning.
Yeah, it's very, very, very nice.
It's just a beautiful way to remember her, which I just think is so cool, of just like feeling her presence.
It's pretty special. They're coming in Babette's honor, and they're also coming to do their part to find a cure for cancer.
The maze was originally going to be open on Saturday, but due to the rainy weather, the opening was pushed to Sunday.
To drive by and see them from the road is one thing, but actually to stand amongst them and in them and have them surround you is a pretty neat experience.
The maze is free to the public, but the family's nonprofit organization, Seeds of Hope, is asking for donations that go 100% to cancer research and patient advocacy. The family also sells those sunflower seeds, which have now been sold in 6 different countries and 48 states.
It's spreading my mom's cheer and my mom's love like all over the country, which is, it's hard to even find the words for it.
Sunday's opening drew in hundreds of visitors, including someone from New Zealand.
Well, it's an amazing thing, isn't it? You know, for a man to have done in memory of his wife, you know, and for his family too.
In addition to the maze, people could find antique tractors and go on a wagon ride.
And with 2 lookout stations throughout the maze, it's quite the view from up above.
I don't think you can really put it into words, especially if you knew Donna and Babette. It's just a love story.
What do you think Babette would think of this?
Oh, I think she's smiling.
In Eau Claire, Abigail Hantke, WEAU 13 News.